Berserk 1997, Episode 6, Zodd the Immortal. So it turns out, as Griffith is waiting on the hilltop, that the siege was actually already underway. While they're waiting up there, this is when a messenger comes in to say, "We have successfully brought the enemy castle under control. However, we haven't got to their commander." Currently, Guts and his men are actually the ones doing the siege. They're trying to get inside, but there is a powerful soldier stopping them. While Griffith and the group is overthinking, we hear this rumor about someone called Zodd, the Immortal, also known as Nosferatu Zodd. Really, at this point, it's more or less a rumor, but what we hear is pretty legendary. Apparently, this man has killed over 100 soldiers. Not only that, every time he seems to die, he comes back to the battlefield. Apparently, he's been alive for more than 100 years. Now, with this little bit of a tease, we get down to the ground where Guts is panicking. He sent in 500 soldiers, they haven't came out. And one ends up coming out, and he is pretty badly beaten and ends up dying on the spot. And all we hear is Zodd the Immortal. Guts is like, "I'm gonna go in, y'all stay out there." He has one soldier insisting, but goes in alone. Once inside, there is bodies on every bit of the ground. There's some blood. I mean, it is pretty much one of those older animes, so it's pretty good for the time, I would say. Now, he hears this scream all at once. Guts runs forward with sword out. He sees nothing but this monster in front of him, and whenever he turns around, he has one of his soldiers skewered on his sword. This is when it breaks into the Guts versus Zodd fight. You see the true strength of Zodd. He is very powerful, but Guts is able to keep up, which this really makes Zodd quite excited, and Guts is even able to land a strike. Now, after Guts lands that strike, this is where things really switch up. Zodd goes into a different form, which shakes Guts up quite a bit. He turns into a full-on devil. He's red. He's different. I thought he was a bull at first, but he's not. He is definitely some sort of demon or devil. Now, the fighting continues, but Zodd is way too powerful. It gets too weird. He actually grabs Guts' sword midway and eventually grabs Guts, and he's getting ready to break his bones in his body and tear him apart. This isn't a very consistent timeline, I will say, but there is a moment in between all that fighting of Guts that we actually get to see Griffith come down and go inside by himself. He ends up coming at the same moment that Guts is being held by Zodd, and this is when he's actually brought soldiers with him. They begin to shoot, and Zodd focuses on them instead. Now the focus turns to the soldiers, and Griffith goes to help Guts, but of course Zodd turns straight away to both of them. Zodd actually ended up killing all the soldiers, but now both Guts and Griffith have their backs turned to the corner, and they have to fight. Guts is very injured, he has to pull through. The two are able to actually land strikes on Zodd, basically cutting off both of his arms. However, he ends up slapping Griffith with his decapitated arm with his arm. It was the oddest thing I've ever seen, but Griffith is down for the count. Guts is like, "Oh no, what's gonna happen next?" And it's looking at this point like Zodd is gonna try and execute Griffith, but he sees his necklace. It's really crazy. It just stops Zodd right in his tracks. He says to himself, "The egg of the king. That cannot be. A boy like him possesses the chrism behelt of the god hand." Hysterical laughter. "I see. So that's the ploy." And we see Zodd smash the top part of the castle, making an exit for himself. At the same time, we see Casca and the others begin to go inside because they were out there as well with Griffith. Now, Zodd begins to talk to Guts that our battle for now will be suspended. Our duel is what he says. Unfortunately, he continues and says, "Unfortunately, I doubt I'll have another chance to fight you." The next thing he says, "I will give you some advice." It gets really ominous. "Or rather, I will foretell your doom. If you and this man truly regard each other as friends, be mindful of this. When this man's ambition crumbles." Zodd spreads his wings as he continues. "You'll be destined to face your death. A death you can never escape." Now it's time to get to the ending. So Zodd flies away. A bunch of the others that are still outside see this and they're like, "Whoa, what is that?" Now, this is where we go back to Guts, who is overthinking what was just foretold to him. and we ended off with Casca coming in to cradle Griffith, and she blames Guts for everything that happens. I'm sorry about this one being so long, but there were so many crazy things that happened back to back, and I'm starting to see this story as something really bigger. It's sort of like this huge origin story to see this big thing that happened between Griffith and Guts. I like it. I love this series so far. It's great. It's got some grittiness to it, and there is definitely going to be monsters now that I can see. With that, I rate this episode a 9.5. I want to know what you guys' thoughts are on Berserk episode 6. Hope you guys stay safe, and until next time, peace out, guys.